Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Sorry, I lost something. Trying to find it. It's good to see you all today in the world. Here it is. Goodness. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm perfectly fine. Everybody else in the world's crazy, not me. Hi, Noe. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Amber. Ooh, where'd those hearts come from floating up the side? Goodness, I haven't seen those before. Where'd those come from? Is that a new thing? I haven't seen those before. Anyway, hello. Hi, Bea. It's Bea, right? I think that's right. Oh my goodness, there's hearts and there's smiley faces. Where did those come from? Hi, Nana. Linda. Bea, I forgot where you are. Where are you located? You're in Europe someplace, right? Norway? Sweden? Netherlands? I don't remember. Hi, Rhonda. Good to see you. Switzerland. I had guessed everything but that. Hi, Starla. Oh, goodness. Chances. He was in the other room, right back here, asleep in the window. He was sun drunk. But the minute he heard me talking, he's like, oh no, it's my moment. I need to be out there because it's my moment. Rhonda, I hope you're feeling better. It is nice to see you. We're just chatting a minute while everybody shows up. I've been out cavorting and running around this morning, so I'm a little bit late. Oh well. I figured you all would not mind. You would wait for me. Hi, Malia. Happy Friday to you. Happy Drama-Free Friday. Indeed. We're getting ready to have winter again. We had summer for a few days. We're getting ready to go back into winter again this weekend. Craziness. Crazy. You're getting there. You are welcome, Rhonda. We want you better. We definitely want you better. Uh-oh. Elvis is in the house. Hello, Elvis. I'm so glad you guys are here. Thanks for joining me today. It's Friday. It's a great day. It's drama-free. Even better. Drama-free is the best. So I was not here last Friday. If any of you showed up and I wasn't here, I wasn't here. I was, at this time, a week ago, I was getting ready to eat lunch in Las Vegas. You don't know about drama-free? That's true. My thumbnail, I put the one I have, and I'm sure you all discovered, I have a bunch of different thumbnails and I just rotate them because I'm too lazy to make another one. And so the one I put up today was the one where Chance has his head stuck in the cup. Yeah. He's going, hello, hello, help, help, help. It was fun. It was fun. It was very eye-opening. Hi, Linda. It was very eye-opening and very good. And so I have some more information to share with you about that today. In case any of you are interested or want to know where I was. It was a whirlwind trip that lasted 24 hours. 24 hours. Yes. I am still almost young enough to do that. But I've been catching up ever since. So I'm not quite young enough to do it, but almost. Anyway, imagine such a thing. All right. I have a list. You know, back in the day when I first started this whole broadcasting thing, and we were doing a bunch of recordings for the website and stuff, my son wanted me to memorize everything. I will never forget, there was one script for one thing that we were doing that was 80, I think it was 80 pages long that I was supposed to memorize. Now, back in the day when I was a piano major in college, 80 pages was kind of routine. But 80 pages of script that someone else has written for me is a lot, you know. And oh, I would get so frustrated, and Race would get so frustrated with me. And finally, about day 3 of recording, he says, okay, let's try it this way. That's when you know that your kid has decided that you are inept, but he's got to figure out a way to deal with your ineptness. And he finally told me what he did when he was memorizing long dialogues and stuff when he was going in for various auditions and things. He finally told me his secret, and I'm like, well, that makes sense. And so I started trying it his way. It was amazing how much I could actually remember, because I think in colors a lot of the time. And if I can color code the text, I can remember it, because, oh, it's the yellow and then the pink and then the blue kind of thing. Yeah, but it was like days of frustration for both of us before he finally enlightened me as to what he did. I know, right, Rhonda? Whew, it was not good. It was not great. Chance is locked in the other room at the moment. He's quiet. I have done already this morning, I did a voiceover for a video for the VIP group. And I had to put him on my lap because he was just being so obnoxious. And then he didn't want to be on my lap. So he's squirming and fidgeting. And I'm like, so I finally let him get down. So then he walks around the table. He gets on the other table. He gets up. He comes over and he he starts fiddling with the bag of catnip. And he finally dumps it off on the floor. So then I have to get the cat and get up, stop the voiceover, stop the video, go deal with him. And it was a whole thing. You would not believe that when it's me and an animal like Chance and an animal like Muppet, both of whom are ancient, by the way, you would not think that it was such a circus around here. And they are my monkeys. I'm really good about saying, not owning stuff that's not mine. Not my monkeys, not my circus. I'm really good at just, putting those over there where they belong. But when it's your monkeys and your circus and you have to own it, it's like, really? Anyway, if Artie Anna Maria, hello. Oh, I'm glad you're here. I hope you're feeling well. Better anyway. We had a couple people this past week or so that have had some real challenges. I'm so glad you're here. Hey, Joan. There was something else I was going to say and I sidetracked myself. Shocking. Anyway, okay. Yeah, not my monkeys and not my circus. That's one of my very favorite sayings, and it plays in my head a lot. But when it's your monkeys and your circus and you have to deal, it's a whole other thing. It's a whole other thing. Yes, it is. Okay, so let us talk a little bit more about Las Vegas. So that's where I was last Friday. The alarm went off at 3 a.m. on Friday in order to be on the plane to fly to Vegas. We boarded the plane at 5:10 a.m., flew to Vegas. Because there was a 2-hour time difference, we got picked up in Vegas at 6:45 or something. Bless their hearts, having to pick us up at that time. There were 2 of us, and we got picked up. And then after some kind of lag time, and by the way, just in case you wonder, I don't get up and put on makeup at 3 o'clock in the morning, because by noon I'm going to look like I've had it on for 8 hours, because let's see, I have. so I take the makeup with me, find a place to put it on, put myself together before the luncheon. Although I'm like, I'm not sure what day it is or what time it is, but I gotta do this thing, because it was a fundraising luncheon that we were going to. And so we went to the thing, and I didn't yawn through it, I don't think. I think I kept my mouth shut and my eyes open. That went on for a couple of hours. Then there was the tear down time and all that kind of stuff. And then later in the late afternoon, after we'd spent some time visiting and, catching up and stuff, later that afternoon, we went out for dinner with a whole group of people. There was like 12 people that went out for dinner at a pub. And then we had to go back to the airport. I got back on the plane at 8:45 or something like that, Las Vegas time. So it was 10:45 p.m. here, somewhere in that neighborhood. Flew nonstop back to the airport in the Midwest. And then we couldn't land at the Kansas City airport because there was a big storm. And so we're circling in southeast Kansas. And at one point, the pilot came on the intercom and said, in case any of you are looking at the flight tracker, and I'm like, I didn't know there was a flight tracker. That's how sheltered I am. I didn't know there was a flight tracker. Anyway, I finally found it in my phone and looked, and sure enough, the flight goes Las Vegas to Kansas, and then it does this over the southeast corner of Kansas, and it's just loop-de-loop-de-loop. We got an extra 45 minutes of airtime. And at one point, he came over, the pilot came on and said, at some point, he said, we have plenty of fuel to last for at least 45 minutes. And I'm like, ooh, I'm not the best flyer in the whole world. Anyway, we made it. We were fine. But by the time we landed, got the car, it was, what time was it? About 3. So 24 hours. Yep. It was crazy. It was crazy, but it was fun. It was good. So anyway, what we went to, a 2-year-old running around, 2-year-olds meaning animals, they're 2 years old, except they're old 2 years old. Anyway, what we went to was a fundraiser for the organization called, it's a organization called Olive Crest, and I talked a little bit about it on Monday, but I wanted to show you a little bit more about it, and because I thought some of you might be interested in more of what it's about. So I have put a link for Olive Crest to their website, which is olivecrest.org. It's OLIVECREST, or there's a clickable link in the description box below the video. And I just wanted to show you a little bit more about Olive Crest, just so you could sort of get the idea. Because I know, sometimes you need places to make charitable contributions, and it's hard to tell sometimes what are, reasonable charitable organizations. And I feel confident in this one. So it's Olive Crest. They're located in California and also in Nevada. There may be other places, but those are the 2 places I'm aware of. Strong families, safe kids. And so this is a little bit of the information about Olive Crest. And so you can get a hold of I'm sure if you contacted them, they can send you a packet of information. The executive director is named Jimmy Monahan, I think is how you pronounce his name. But what they do is help kids and families. Sometimes, like we talked to one young mother who was with us. We picked her up when we were going to the luncheon, we went and got her, and she was one of the speakers. And Olive Crest had helped her when she had a set of twins, and she knew that something was not right with the one twin. She just, mother's instinct, just, it was kicking in big time. And it took quite a bit to get the medical authorities to kick in and understand that there really was something wrong with this baby. And thank goodness she persisted. He had a very serious heart ailment. And so they kicked in. Olive Crest, she made a connection with people at Olive Crest. They were able to take the other twin and temporarily have someone keep him so that she could be in the hospital with the sick twin. And I mean, it was very intense for her. And they were able to kind of help her in the gap also with things that she needed and just support her. So, there's a lot of times where people don't need long-term support, but they need short-term and an intervention of sorts, to get them from place to place. And that's what they did for her. And it was just really nice to be able to hear it from someone firsthand. So anyway, they do that with a lot of these kids. They also work with kids they have a program that is from 18 to 24 to help these kids who are not on their feet yet, who have aged out of the system and that just need some extra support with how to get a job, how to interview, how to go for putting their best foot forward and just helping them. And it's amazing to me. It is absolutely amazing to me what they're able to do. So anyway, that's my commercial, my endorsement for Olive Crest. Made a big impression on me. It made a big impression. Thanks, Rhonda. That's the link that Rhonda put in the chat there. You just never know. No matter what age you are, you never know when you're going to have some help. So, yeah. Anyway, so I wanted to make you aware of that and show you the actual name of the organization. And since I talked to you, those of you that I talked to on Monday, the people that were hosting us had a contact from Olive Crest, and they, since that point in time, were asked to foster a young man who is a senior in high school. He has lost both of his natural parents, and then he had been adopted, and his adopted mother, I believe, had passed away. I don't know all the ins and outs, all the details, but the remaining person that he was living with was like the adoptive mother's husband or something, and he kicked him out. The kid's 18. He's going to high school. He graduates in, 3 or 4 weeks. And he was going from sleeping on people's couches that would allow him to stay there and sleeping on park benches and still going to school. And somehow he connected with Olive Crest, and then Olive Crest connected him to this couple who live very close to the high school where he goes to school. So he's going to be able to finish high school, and they were able to support him, and various people kicked in some funds, and they were able to get him a suit to go to prom and another suit so that he can interview for jobs. And the smile on this young man's face is just incredible. So, kudos to organizations that endeavor to keep kids out of the system and actually help them, really help feet on the ground, practical help. And so I just thought that was such a great story. It just really, anything, because I had a teenage boy and I only had one son of my own. I raised a stepdaughter too, but I only had one son of my own. Teenage boys really have a place in my heart. And so this one, that was a really special story for me. So anyway, he's getting help. So I think that's really great. Anyway, okay. What else have I been doing? We're going to do some art here in just a second. I think we're going to do something fun today. I've been reading silly stories to you. Not silly, but I've been reading stories to you. And I don't know how many of you were here. Hi, Millie. I don't know how many of you were here on Monday. I read the last installment of what I'd written. And I don't know if any of you want to hear it again. I was looking to see my brainy mess. Hello. I'm not sure what your name is, but I'm so glad you're here. Yeah, my brainy mess. What a great name. You missed Monday? Well, maybe I will read it for you quickly. It's not very long. I'm just writing kind of short segments about different things about Drama Free Friday, how I got started doing what I'm doing, just, some of the background of who I am. Your actual name is Ava. How nice. Welcome, Ava. Hi, Barbara. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm glad you're here live, too. And I had a comment. I don't know if Artie Dar is here or not watching, or if she's watching at some point later. She had a comment after the live on Monday that it was too bad it wasn't recorded. But the thing is, the live streams are always recorded. I have no control over that. YouTube always records it. It may take YouTube a little bit to process it and, get it up. I don't know. Sometimes they're really fast. Anyway, the live streams, as you're watching this, there's always a recording, unless I physically have to take it down for some reason, which I've had to do, because I said something that shouldn't have been said or talked about someone without their permission, and I don't do that. If I accidentally do that, I will take that recording down. Yes, Linda, absolutely. She said she is an adopted 7-year-old grandson and would be horrified to think of that happening to him. I know. It was just gripping. It was gripping. But things have turned around for that young man. Yeah, he's 18. He's going to graduate from high school. He's going to get to go to prom. Lots of cool things. A lot of people stepping up to help him and love him. And so I think that's great. All right. So anyway, so I've written and read to you, I think I've written or read to you 3 different things. And so I'm just going to keep going with this as long as people want to hear it. This one is called, and this is rough draft, okay? Everything I'm reading to you is very rough. This one's called Computers, Cameras, and Confusion to Confidence. How about some alliteration? All right. Hello, ARH. Welcome, welcome. There comes a time for me in every hobby that I've ever begun when I decide to show others how to enjoy it too. Have any of you ever done that? It's crazy. I've done it with piano lessons, sewing for fun, sewing fine fabrics like silk and Liberty cotton, Italian wools, ultra suede, and a lot of other ones. I've taught fitting classes which minimize expensive mistakes on those luscious fabrics. Then came toll and decorative painting with oils, mixed media, art journaling, and then the stretch where I owned a knitting machine store where I taught dozens of classes about machines and all kinds of yarns. Years later, I showed people how to create art dolls and designed easy faces for the dolls with rubber stamps that we produced. Later, mandalas became my obsession, which led into classes and our books of designs and eventually to the creation of our Mandala Madness Inspiration Cards deck, which this isn't part of the reading, but this is what I'm talking about, are these cards. We still have some of these. We're at the very tail end quantities of them, so if you want them, the link is in the description box under the video. We are at the end of these. I'm not sure how many we have left, but I think we're under 200 decks. Maybe even 150. I'm not sure. So if you want them, get them, because at this point, I'm not going to be reordering them. Oh, good for you, ARH. She said she just signed up to teach her first crochet class. That's great. Good for you. I guess you could say I've wrecked every hobby I've ever tried, but I've enjoyed it all. When I began streaming live online, once again I was faced with a decision about what to do next. Computers become obsolete. Programs morph into apps. Gone are the days of purchasing anything that lasts for more than a couple of years, if you're lucky. I wish I could say that I figured it all out for myself, but anyone who knows me very well knows that I'm creative, not technical. That's where my son and his belief that I'm not totally hopeless intersects with my creative world. Although we've collaborated on diverse projects, his determination to drag me into this century and forcing me to stay technologically current sometimes has caused me to rebel at the obvious. I had to keep learning, and although I kept notebooks of instructions, believe me, these are big notebooks too, everything was subject to change at any moment. For one who grew up when a single computer, and this is, I know I keep interjecting here, but this is no exaggeration. For one who grew up when a single computer was as big as our first home and had to be kept in a climate-controlled environment, constant changes meant I could learn to stay current or only be of value for a couple of years. A question my son learned to ask me from time to time was, "Are you in or are you out?" So far, I've always answered in, even though I've dealt with much anxiety about my flagging confidence. I began with an aging laptop and one webcam. Within a few months, my son found an app that allowed me to use the built-in camera as well as the webcam so I could talk to the viewers as well as show them what I was doing. I only had to remember to switch them while talking and showing whatever I was doing. And believe it or not, that was a lot for me to remember. Showing the viewers what I was doing meant holding the project up to the camera for them to see, but they could never see how I held the brush or a pencil or how I created some sort of stitching without good descriptions from my mouth because everything had to be held up. Our next big leap was with a second-hand Mac Pro computer that my son retrofitted to accommodate the updates we needed for the multiple monitors, because we needed multiple monitors and a PC, which was like learning a foreign language. So in those days, I had a Mac and a PC, which is like two conflicting languages in your head. It also had a number pad, which looks like a calculator, to switch cameras that we also added into the system. My son set it all up along with the necessary software that controlled everything. The only problem for me was knowing which buttons on which thing controlled what. The answer was a very long, narrow cheat sheet that went under the bank of equipment that cued me so I didn't have to think. I still laugh when I recall someone who was upset with me, this is true, about her small operation versus my large company. If she only realized the truth of the wizard behind the curtain. I still don't know why I upset her as much as I did. That computer and camera setup worked for several years until the main computer could no longer be updated, which meant another big decision and a significant financial investment. We upgraded all the cameras and cables and boxes and cords that make communication with the new computer possible. A programmable switching device replaced the number pad. Multiple hard drives arrived at new places to live, along with audio equipment, a fancy microphone, and a ton of confusion for me. My son's confidence in me often left me speechless. He's a great teacher and is still patient with me, although I'm certain I've tested him within an inch of his limit. All of the newness required a brand new cheat sheet that lived in its special location under the computer monitors for a year or more. My son assured me that soon enough I wouldn't need it. He's always right. During this 30-something year online teaching adventure, I've realized that I can still learn. My brain has remained flexible as long as my attitude doesn't settle into the default self-doubt of, I don't think I can do this. I've learned that my online viewers are the best in the world. When life has taken a hard turn a couple of times, they've been supportive and patient and understanding. The breaks for weeks or months at a time required relearning the system and embracing the chunks of updates that happened while I was occupied with my crazy everyday life. Even today, my son presents a new idea, and he still says, "This depends on you and your attitude. Are you in or out?" Without hesitation, even after so much time has passed, I say, "I'm in," before he finishes the question. I won't give up because there's too much to learn and too much to do and too much to share. Giving up or giving out is not an option. So there you go. That's the next installment of how I got to where I am. But I do have to laugh at the gal that got so upset with me because I don't even know what she was upset about, but she was not happy that, I had a big, huge operation with all these people and she couldn't do the things I did because she was just one person. If you only knew. Anyway. You've managed to never have to learn a PC? Well, yes, I had to learn a PC. And then at one point, the PC became obsolete. And that was a happy day for me. That was a very happy day for me. Oh, does it? Oh, that's neat. My brainy mess. That's cool. Okay. So that's that. And that first computer, the very first computer I ever had, not the laptop, but the very first computer that we ever had in our home, took 5 years to pay for it. That's how expensive that sucker was. 5 years of payments to pay for that computer. Because we weren't smart enough to save up the money first. Anyway. Anyhow, believe me, it's so much easier today. If you have an iPhone or you have a, you can do it with an Android. You can record. If you have an iPad, if you have anything, you can record. You can broadcast. It is so much easier, and the broadcast quality is so much better than when I started. No comparison. Anyway, I digress. Okay, let's do something, shall we? I like having handmade cards available, and I most always have, it's bad news, Barbara, when you get to the place that you can't upgrade your computer again. That is bad news. Yeah. Yeah, the whole Photoshop thing changed. I mean, everything changed, where you now don't own the apps. You pay a monthly fee. I mean, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Anyway, okay. So I like having cards because I like to send cards to people, and I am behind sending cards to people, which I have been saying for probably 6 or 8 months, or maybe longer, probably longer. But I thought we would do something that would be maybe fun. I don't know. We'll find out. I have lots of scraps. Lots and lots and lots of scraps. And I thought that we would make a collage of scraps or a collage of painty papers. We're just going to make a collage, and then we're going to put a shape over it that reveals the shape that reveals the collage. You'll understand here in a minute. So we're going to take a look at what I have on my desk here. So this is a card base that I have. These, I like to buy them pre-done, pre-folded. And these that are the craft cards, they'll have to go under some heavy books or something because they like to They like to curl, but you know, it is what it is. And these are 5x7s, so 7 this way, 5 this way. Of course, you can do them this way. I'm going to be using it this orientation. And I have all of these different bits and pieces, and much of it, I just pulled out the ones that were transparent or translucent. So this is rice paper, this is deli paper. And then I also have a bunch of other things that I have done more elaborate printing and stamping and so forth on bits and pieces, and so we're just going to add these into the mix. So we're just going to add these. So some of them are pretty plain and some of them are more complex designs. I really like this one a lot. And then I have a whole bunch of little bits and pieces of, oh, who knows what. This is from a class. So we're just going to stick those off to the side, because we don't need those at this moment. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to get some glue papers, some scrap paper to glue on, and a glue stick. And we're just going to make a collage of bits and pieces on this card. And then when we get done, we're going to put something over the top of it and we'll see what happens. If you have any questions, be sure you put them in all caps or something that you want to get my attention about. Put it in all caps, and then I should be able to see, hopefully. I should be able to see, I hope. So for most of what I'm going to do here, I'm going to rip the papers and we will just add them onto the collage. So I'm just going to rip rip this into a few smaller pieces here for a moment. This one, maybe we'll use some of the, some of the screen. And while I'm doing this, I thought I would tell you about a podcast. I don't know if you guys like podcasts, but I listen to podcasts all the time. So all I'm doing is just ripping these into some smaller pieces, smaller sections, because there's no point in having these great big pieces of paper to deal with. I don't know if you like podcasts or not, but I really do. I listen to them all the time. If I'm doing, which I should be doing more of, by the way, housework, I should be doing a lot more organizing and a lot more cleaning and a lot more, yard work and all that kind of stuff. I should be doing a lot more of all of that. And when I am doing that, there's always something going on in my ear. Most of the time it's a podcast. And one of the podcasts that was recommended to me by a friend was called A Way with Words. And because you know that I enjoy writing, I write a lot. Mostly it is to find out what's going on in my head. Because I don't always know what's in my head. If it's going round and round and driving me nuts, my head can do that. And sometimes that happens, and I need to write it out. So I do a lot of writing, which means that you have to expand your vocabulary, especially if you're going to let anybody read what you write, or if you're going to write so that you read it to somebody else, like I've been doing. You really need to expand your vocabulary. And so anyway, this A Way with Words is a podcast. I listen to all different kinds of podcasts, but A Way with Words is one that I really particularly like. So if you like to read, if you like to write, if you enjoy the etymology of words, hey Sherry, if you like any of that kind of stuff, it's really good. This is a really good podcast. So it made me start thinking about some things, because so far I'm just using all of these brightly colored deli papers that I pulled out of that plastic bag. I had forgotten how pretty these were. Nothing like complimenting myself, is there? It's like, oh, these are really lovely, Barb. You did a nice job. I know, right? I've also been accused of, for being just a regular person, I get accused of more things from time to time. You know, is what it is. Comes with the territory of being me, I guess. There's entomology, which is the study of bugs, and etymology, which is the origin of words, I believe. Don't quote me, but, or the origin of something, etymology, as opposed to entomology. So anyway, I was listening to this podcast today, and I got so tickled. I was driving in the car, and I got so tickled about this particular one from A Way with Words, because it's a call-in show. So it's like this. It's a crazy combination of a talk show and an informational show. Okay, so this talk show, this person called in, and she had a grandparent or an uncle, I think it was a grandparent, that liked this word called, I wrote it down, let me see, ickampacky. Okay, ickampacky. That's how she pronounced it, and apparently that's how he pronounced it, was ickampacky. And she wanted to know, because what people will do, they'll call in to the show, and then they'll ask, you know, do you have any information about where this thing came from? Or, you know, is it a regional thing or whatever? And so there's quite a discussion about it. And then they also play with words. They always have some guy that's on there that does like a quiz, and they're sort of pun type things. And it's a really fun, very entertaining thing for me, and they're usually about an hour long. Well, anyway, this woman says that her grandfather used the word ickampacky, and when she said that, I was like, it like kind of rang a bell, but I wasn't really sure where that came from. I thought, why is that ringing a bell? Well, then she said she followed it up with talking to that's a male and a female that host the show. And she said, the only thing I've been ever able to find out about this is that she'd looked it up someplace, and that there was a plumbing term that was pronounced, that was spelled differently. It was spelled Ackumpucky, and she pronounced it ickampacky, and it was like goo or junk on the threads of a pipe. And I thought, that's where I've heard it, except I've heard it as Ackumpucky. Have any of you ever heard that word? Ackumpucky, have you ever heard that? Well, my husband, Clausman, used it a lot. And he used it, that's like, I'm like, that's where I've heard it. Ackumpucky, yes. So, and it is, that word, Ackumpucky, is a real word that is in the American Regional, it's the Dictionary of American Regional English. So it's actually in a dictionary. I think they said it went into the dictionary in 2017. Ackumpucky. It's probably something from the country or from his profession. Anyway, Ackumpucky. Yeah. But Clausman used that word a lot. Okay, so I've got glue papers here, and I've got my card base right here, and it's going to kind of annoy us a little bit. Oh, we might put a couple of little binder clips on it just to see if we can let's see if we can flatten it out a little bit. We'll just put on one. We'll see if it works. Anyway, yeah, Accompany. There you go. You're welcome. You're welcome. You have all been educated now. So, the way you use this word is this. Oh, there's Accompany all over my hand. Like, you stick your hand. Okay, like cleaning up after chants sometimes. It's like, oh, the Accompany. Ugh. Okay, you got the idea? Accompany. Yeah, so they had a fun discussion about the word Accompany today. But the caller's grandfather used the word Ickampacky. So, yeah. Ickampacky or Accompany. Which made me then think about some other things, because that was one that Clausman used, Accompany. And so that also went on to make me think about some of his other expressions. Now, I imagine that this is going to trigger some good things for you guys to think about, because I would be interested in whatever kinds of things people in your family might have said, things that you grew up with, because we all grow up with things that just seem perfectly normal, just seem perfectly normal. And I'm not sure how I'm not sure how normal some of the stuff is that we grow up with. But because we grow up with it and people have said it over and over and over, it seems perfectly normal. And my husband grew up in the country with his grandfather, who was very rural. His grandfather only went through, okay. This is why you need to keep track of where the glue is on the paper. Because if you don't, keep up with where the glue is on the paper, you end up gluing yourself right into a corner. But one of his grandfather went through third grade, was a brilliant man, brilliant businessman, farmer, did amazing things in his lifetime, lost everything in the Depression, recovered, kept on going. He was quite the guy. But one of his things when he didn't feel good is he would say, I'm just feeling all well, I'm just not feeling good. Well, Granddad, what's going on? I don't know, I'm just all stove up. And the first time I heard that, I laughed because I thought he was see, the problem with things that are isolated to different regions or different family folklore and that kind of stuff, the problem with that, and you've never heard it, is it sounds so funny. And you can laugh inappropriately, mind you. Yes, and so the first time I ever heard him say that, I laughed. And he didn't understand why I was laughing, and I felt bad about that. Anyway, because to him it was perfectly sensible that he was all stove up. Hi, Nanette. Okay, so let's see. Horse pocky. Okay, probably the same thing, right? Probably the same thing. Hi, Dorothy. Another one that Clausman used to say, which I thought was funny. If something fit just perfectly, and he used this expression a lot, and if something fits really well, and in his business, it was important that things fit well, because he did remodeling and repairs and that kind of thing. He'd say, you ready for this? Well, that fit just like a sock on a rooster. Why would you put a sock on a rooster? I don't know. But apparently that meant it fit really well. Yeah, fit like a sock on a rooster. Oh, he had some funny expressions. And then as the dementia process for him increased, he would say the same things a lot because his vocabulary diminished and his ability to remember things diminished. But he had 2 or 3 things that he said a lot. To the point that it would drive me a little cracker bananas. And so one of them was, it's good to be on the safe side. Okay, so that was an expression as opposed to a word. It's good to be on the safe side. My son and I laughed about that many times because we never knew what the safe side was. But we just knew that it was good to be there. Any of you know where the safe side is? You heard that expression a lot when you lived on a farm in PA about the sock and the rooster, or which one, Joan? Or which one, Ann? Which one? So, it's good to be on the safe side, people. If you do not know, stove up. We all stove up. Oh, yeah, and he never said stoved up. He was stove up. S-T-O-V-E. He was stove up. He was stove up. Yeah. But in case you didn't know, it is good to be on the safe side. So I guess that means if you're not sure, you need to switch to the other side, because the side you're on might not be the safe one, you know. So it's good to be on the safe side. Yeah, it's good to be on the safe side. And the other one was, if we were going someplace and Claus Man thought that, you know, maybe he should have a hat or a jacket, or, you know, maybe everybody should go to the bathroom one more time before we got in the car or something, you know. And he said this forever. He said he would tell whoever was listening, it was good to get ahead of the game. It was good to get ahead of the game. So, yeah. So we always tried to get ahead of the game. We never knew what game we were playing, and we never knew which side we were on, but we tried very hard to get ahead of the game and be on the safe side. We never knew where that was. Especially my son and I, we just never knew where that was, but we tried. We tried real hard. So, yes. What other expressions do you guys have? Hi, Cindy. Hi, Carol. You put our stuff in the safe place. Ah. Your brain isn't necessarily on the safe side. I understand. Always best to be on the safe side. Well, you know, well, that's okay if you know what side that is. But if you don't know what side it is that's the safe one, how are you supposed to figure that out? That's what I want to know. How are you supposed to figure that out? I don't know. But boy, he said it a lot. Yes, he did. That Claus Man, he had some sayings, boy. He had some things that he liked to... Yeah. And there were a few times, you know, because he, toward the very end of his life, I was still taking him for coffee and stuff as much as I could, and he invariably would spill it. You know, we went from using regular coffee cups in the stores, the coffee shop, to having to use a cup that had a lid on it. And then eventually we ended up having to use what amounted to an adult sippy cup that had a lid that, when it dumped over, didn't pop off the lid. And You know, so there were times when that cup would dump, and through my head would flash, apparently we weren't on the safe side today. It's like, oh man. Oh goodness. Yeah, there was one day he spilled 2 cups of coffee. This was the day that I decided we had graduated to a sippy cup, you know, with a lid that wouldn't come off. And he dumped 2 cups of coffee that day, and it was a total of 20 ounces of coffee. I didn't get the first one cleaned up before he dumped the second one. I'm like, and he was like surprised. I'm like, okay. Oh goodness, there were some challenges there. We weren't always on the safe side. We weren't always on the safe side. And we definitely, as hard as I tried to be ahead of the game, I wasn't always ahead of the game either. Anyway, so do you guys have any other expressions? My mom had fairies, and if she was trying to get us kids not to do something, you know, like she was trying to get us to stop doing whatever, she'd warn us. And she'd say, you need to stop that, or one of my fairies is going to get you. I thought, honest to Pete, thought the woman had fairies. Because they'd always nail you. They would always nail you. Yes, they would. Okay, what's Starla say? Wait a minute, where's Starla? I got to find the chat here. Wait, I missed what Starla said. Maybe she did. Yeah, maybe she did. Gosh, I'm telling you what, I was convinced she had fairies. I think all of us were. Because they would nail you every cotton picking time. You know, because it was always the thing of stop, you know, jump. Because you'd have a thing. You know how kids are. You'd have a thing. You were going to jump over, you know, like a thing you put your feet up on, you know, footstool. And you know how kids are. Kids love to jump up on things. You know, jump up on it and then jump off of it. And she'd always say, if you don't stop that, you've got to stop that, because if you don't, one of my fairies is gonna get you. And you're like, oh, you don't have fairies. So you jump one more time. And yep, indeed, a fairy would get you every cotton picking time. Those rotten fairies, oh my goodness, they were mean little boogers. And you always got hurt. Always got hurt with Mom's fairies. Yeah. Isn't that funny, the things you think of? Actually, you know what? I kind of like the way this is without the thing over the top of it. This could be... we may make some cards just like this. We're going to do this one. We're going to do the one that I'm thinking about here, though. But I actually like this just like this. Who knew? Who knew that this would be as much fun as it is? Let's put this like this. You do this with magazine pages. I just thought this was neat because they were so thin. All right, let's put another one down here. Let's see, what shall we put down here? We'll put one of these down here. Maybe this one. This is bright. This is a class on How to Get Creative. That's where these came from. You ever had glue sticks that went gummy? Oh my goodness, this glue stick. I don't think it was this one. It was one of these. Elmer's Extreme. I only had one of them ever do this, but it went gummy on me. And it's like, oh man. And it would dispense so much glue all at one time, and it was pretty ugly. But you know, if you feel like you just have to use it all up, then you know you can't. Look at this sweet little stamp. Look at those little hands. Are those the cutest little hands? It's a stamp. I hope I still have it. I hope I didn't give that away. I can't imagine if it was hands that I would have given it away. I can't imagine that. Hopefully I still have it. I don't even know where it came from. So if I don't know where it came from and I'm not sure if I gave it away, there's a high degree of probability that it might have been somebody else's stamp. Okay. Now, there is this collaged surface, right? Lived at the bottom of the hill. Usually I figure out what the bluebird... Wait a minute. Okay, I got to go back here. I got to read just a minute. I got to look at the chat. I like that Anne's, a lot of her father's expressions were German curse words. There you go. You're going to have to watch who you tell those to. Your mother would say, behave yourself, or a little bluebird's going to tell her. Oh, okay. Grandmom always said a little bird told her. Yes. Hassock. Yeah, that's what we called them, Rhonda. Footstool, hassock, that we called them that. Anne cannot repeat her dad's German words. Little bluebird told her. Sharon's mom said she had eyes in the back of her head. Yes, I would say that too. My mom Dorothy says her mom used to put on her evil face and said, you wait till your dad comes home. That's terrible. You know, I played the piano at church for years. Once I finally figured out how to play gospel style piano, that was a whole other thing. But once I learned how to do that, then I was stuck with playing piano at church, which I did for a really long time. And Race would often be sitting with his friends in church, especially if Clausman was busy, you know, getting ready to serve communion or something. And I would be seated so the pews were out, you know, perpendicular to where I sat, but I was up on the platform. And boy, I could hear that kid. and he was like, she's busy and Dad's not here and I'm with my friends, you know. So he'd start getting a little rowdy. And I'm going to tell you something. I could stop that kid at least for a while till he got old enough to realize that I wasn't going to come off the platform to correct him. I could look at him and I could give him the eye. And it didn't take anything to stop him dead in his tracks. But then he grew up and realized I wasn't going to come get him. Okay. What else? Years later, Cindy says years later she figured out who the bluebird was. It was her third great aunt who lived at the bottom of the hill. Yeah. At the bottom of the hill. Hi, Mary. Nice to see you. That is too funny. Okay, so here we have our little collaged papers. And now what I have done ahead of time, because I was just a little bit prepared, but not much, but a little bit. I had this butterfly die. It is a Tim Holtz Alterations die. It's one of the Biggs dies. And it's a die and embossing folder combination. It is 659578, in case you want to know the number of it. And it is called the Layered Butterfly. Okay, that's this. And so this is the size of the butterfly. Just ignore the fact that it has an extra thing punched out of it. That wasn't, I don't know what I was playing around with for some reason. Here I've done it in plastic packaging, which can be colored with alcohol inks and so forth. This is cut out and embossed in denim. And after I embossed it, then I ran over it with ink, and then eventually the embossing settled out of it. But before the embossing went away, I was able to capture all the detail with the ink pad. So anyway, here's the embossing folder. It's a nice big butterfly. I'm only using the die part of it. And so I took a piece of craft cardstock. Could be anything. It could be black. It could be whatever color you want. I just cut it out of craft. Die cut it out of craft. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put it right on here. And I think that's pretty cool. You know? I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. So just to make it really super simple, we're going to do this with tape rather than glue. Okay? So let me get some tape. I am super gimpy today because I have started walking again. Finally I had enough energy to walk. Oh my goodness. That has been a whole thing about, getting my stamina back enough to be able to walk again. And so I've kind of been pushing it probably a little more than I should have, and so by last night, oh, my left hip, it was like the left hip flexor, I don't know what, it said stop. And so I'm not going to be able to walk today. Probably I won't walk this weekend. I feel like I am, every once in a while, you just, your body just says, girl, you're not as young as you used to be. You're just not as young as you once were. I'm like, yeah, I know. You just think you're always going to be the way you were? Oh, no. Mm-mm. No. No. So, yeah. So, man, I'd sit for a while, like last night I sat for a while after I'd gone to Starbucks, and I wrote for a while. I should not admit this. Oh, well, we're all among friends. Sometimes I write twice a day. If I have a lot to say, I write twice a day. It's called having too much in your head, and you got to get it out, because if you don't, it'll drive you nuts at night. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'd gone writing, and I can't write without having a cup of coffee, so of course that's what I did. And I'd been there for a little while, and I stood up from the chair. I'm like, oh. It actually took me a minute to get going. Yeah, it did. So here's what I'm doing. I'm just putting some tape, and this is tape that was recommended by Nick the Booksmith. And I happen to really like this tape, and it is real sticky, and it comes in a lot of widths, and I bought it specifically. It doesn't have any branding on it. There's no writing on it. So it is not the Sukwang Score Tape brand. And you can get it if you look at Nick the Booksmith's, N-I-K is how you spell her name, Nick the Booksmith. If you look on her website and get the link to her Amazon, I think it's her Amazon favorites. If you do that, you will find the link to the tape. And I thought it was extremely reasonable. And I think it's good tape. Anyway, it's probably not as reasonable as some places, but you know what? It works for me. So I'm just putting enough tape. I'm probably got, more tape on this than anyone should ever put on anything, but there you go. And then I'm just going to burnish the tape. Now, the thing about tape is you do not, for the most part, you don't have any kind of grace period, shall we say. You don't have a grace period with tape. So when you start putting tape down, especially with a shaped thing like this, I'm going to have to take all of these little bits of tape off. It's not like when you put a rectangular or square mat down on a card. You can release a couple of opposite corners and stick it down just in a couple of places. Just that way you've got a shot at making the placement really good. And then you can pull off the remainder of the release papers. Well, it doesn't work that way with this, so you got pretty much one shot. Now, if you have undo, which is an adhesive deactivator, I'm out of it right now. This is the package. Undo. If you have, well, I have a tiny little bit left. I'm coveting it. I need to get some more of it. Undo, UN-DU. If you have undo, you can usually put it under the card, and you can lift it up, but it only deactivates the adhesive. The adhesive will, as soon as the undo evaporates out of it, the adhesive will stick again, which is great in some circumstances. But if you're not aware of that and you accidentally let it stick down to something, you could just have another mess on your hands. So, but it will allow you sometimes, especially like with scrapbooking and things like that, it will allow you to have a little bit of grace period in your life. Okay. There it is. Undo. That won't, I don't think they ship every place either. I think undo only goes to some places. Hello, Shu. Hi, Linda and Tim. Hello, Marty. Hi to everybody that's come in, if I didn't say hello to you. It does, man, when you get up sometimes. Okay, let's see. I think we're going to see if we can get this on here semi-straight. All right, here's hoping, people. Oh, it's not too bad. Not too bad. Not too bad. All right. So once we get this on, then we'll just burnish. And I probably will have to put a little bit of glue right here because I didn't put any tape there. And there you go. And so it has a perfect little spot for, putting a sentiment or cutting out a word or whatever you want to do. Okay? And then what I do is I just use a little scrap of something. Paper, cardstock, whatever. And I just put some glue. This happens to be the Fast Grab Tacky Glue from Aleene's. Let's see if I can get it to squirt out. It's getting thick. This glue. It has grabbed fast inside the bottle. I've had it a long time, so that's part of its issue. And then I just use a straight pen. And under things that are small like this, I will put it on there, and then just that way I can control the glue a little bit more. So just glue it down. And as Race likes to say, Robert is your mother's brother. In other words, Bob's your uncle. That's one of Race's favorite sayings. Robert is your mother's brother. And it's all glued in place. And you can just, be as detailed as you want. But it beats having to put glue on the whole thing. Okay, so there's one. So there's a card. All done. And it's made from scraps, essentially. Just from scraps. Shall we do another one? And maybe we'll do another one with, if I can, I'm going to have to go in the other room where the cat is. There, I have different colors of cardstock in the other room where Chance is. Sadly, it's where Chance is. And maybe we'll try another one with black or something. But I think that's kind of pretty. Do you like that? You like it? Starla likes it. Bob really was your uncle, Marty said. And brother Bob is my kid's uncle. There you go. Hey, Tracy. Bob's your uncle. That's right. Oh, that's funny. So anyway, there's that. Now, one of the things I would probably do with this too, after the glue is dry and stuff, I would probably come in here and doodle around the butterfly and, put some antenna and, or I could leave it just like this. I mean, how big a hurry am I in? Now, I lost some of the collage elements around the edge, but, it's scraps of paper, so we're not gonna worry about it too much, right? Right. Here's some more rice papers that I have over here. So this one, because it's got all kinds of goodness on it, you can get a lot of bang for your buck out of this paper right here because it's got so many different colors. You could do a whole different set of cards just with this one piece of paper. You could get a lot of stuff out of that one. Let's see, what else have I got here? There's another one. Yeah, this is a pretty one. We'll keep that one out. These are all done with rice papers, jelly printed rice papers. Here's another one. So we have this one. We'll put these big pieces I'll save for something else. Because scraps are really really what we want to do. It is a pretty paper, isn't it? These are done, these papers, this is rice paper done with Dynaflow paint. And yeah, you get some great effects with that. Okay, so would you like, I'll give you the option. Would you like me to do another one? If you do, I will do another one. Rice paper does feel great. Let's see, did I tell you everything? Do subscribe to Away with Words if you like words podcast. I highly recommend that one. It's just a feel-good podcast, I listen to some true crime podcasts too. Those are not feel-good. And very interesting, I find, but they're not feel-good ones. Yes? Okay. All right. But Away with Words is just a feel-good, I get tired of going to podcasts or YouTube channels or television shows or anything where it's like, and I'm the authority on this thing, and it's my way or the highway, or I get tired of that. I just want to feel good, I've felt crappy enough, long enough. I just want to feel good. All right, let's do, what color do you think we should do for the outline, for the butterfly, for the reveal? What do you want me to do? I'll go get a paper and we'll do it. You think we should do black? Hey, CB. Your elbows in resin. Oh, bless your heart. Bless your heart. That does not happen here. Think we should do it in black? Hey, Joni. Black. Okay. Let me go get a black cardstock because I don't see any out here. So give me a minute and let me try to sneak in behind door number 1 and get a piece of black cardstock. I don't think I have any out here. And why it's all stuck back there, I don't know. Yeah, I don't see any. I'm going to have to go in. All right. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I got to go get some. This one's all junked up. The good news is Chance is drunk in the window. Also, if you do these like this, you end up with the butterfly. So it's double duty, right? Okay, so let us cut this. I'll show you how I cut it. And hopefully I don't screw it up. There's always that chance. Okay, I did the piece, the reveal piece, at 6 3/4. All right, I'm going to stand up. My head may get in the way here, so you'll just have to forgive me if you end up having to look at the top of my head. 6 3/4. Whoops. Good thing it was a scrap, because I went off kilter by 4 3/4. Okay, 4 3/4. Try to line things up as best you can. Hopefully this piece of paper is not too out of square, because it is a scrap. All right, let's see. All right, looks pretty good. Looks pretty square. And then I just use my big kick, because that's what I have. I don't have a fancy die cutting machine. It's a big kick, which is the same thing as a big shot. And here is the die and the 2 cutting plates. So I use one on the bottom that is not too cut up. The die like this, and these are the big dies. These are the thick ones, so you don't use anything else with them besides the cutting pads. And then what you try to do, let's go this way, better. So what I try to do here is to line this up, center it on the die as best I can, you know, and if it doesn't work out, it's cardstock and I'll do it again, okay? So I just kind of line it up as best I can. Put the other cutting pad on the top, the one that is all nasty and cut up, put it on the top. Hopefully not move anything. Watch me move it. And then roll it through so it cuts. And if you mess it up, then do it again, okay? All right. Pop out the butterfly. Take a look at it, see if it looks fairly straight, which it does. It looks pretty good. Looks pretty even, pretty straight. Okay. Good fortune has smiled upon us once again. And so there is our reveal. And here is our base. I only have the craft colored bases in this. Oh, that's pretty. That's pretty, just like that. I only have the craft in this size. What's poor CB? I'll chat. Still playing with resin. Joan's playing with resin. Oh, wow. So, Purple Nana Linda says she's done something similar with black paint rather than card. Yeah, you can do it, certainly. Absolutely. This is just easy, right? It's just easy. Now, if you want to really get, you know, kind of where you're not going to waste all your good scraps, if you're worried about that, then you could take a pencil and you could lightly give yourself a little, just some guidelines so you kind of know. We should do it on this side too. So just give yourself some general guidelines so you know. Don't go too, you don't have to go a whole lot beyond those marks. Let me zoom in here. See those marks? You can do that or not. It's really totally up to you. I think it's just kind of fun just to go for it and see what happens. And this is on there just to try and flatten out my card, because the card base wants to do this funky, you know, curvy thing. Okie doke. Let's do one more. So let's use some of these this time. And the thing about like these rice papers, I did these on my great big jelly plate, and I use lots of different colors. And so what's nice about that is you have, if you use different colors of paint and different patterns, you have a wide variety of options just with one piece of jelly printed paper. Okay, so let's go back to our scrap papers, our gluey papers, and our delicious gooey glue stick. And we will just start putting down some papers. And you look at them and decide which side you want to go down. I think we'll use the one that has more variety on it. And I'm going to kind of just go outside my outline a little bit. And then just burnish down the papers. Now, if the papers are super thin, which rice paper, especially when it has acrylic paint on it, is not super duper thin. But if your paper is really thin and has a lot of transparency or translucency to it, then your background's going to affect it. So if this was a black card base, for example, it might really affect the color of your rice paper or your deli paper or whatever it is that you use. These are all done with acrylic paints, and so they don't, they're not very transparent. Acrylic paint, these acrylic paints that I've used here are pretty opaque. So I'm just gonna, these really are scraps now. Yeah, these really are scraps. And another thing you can do with this is you could do these with color, you know, stick to one color story, like all blues or blues and greens or purple and pink, or, you know, something like that if you wanted to. And you could do all different rainbow sorts of cards, or you only want to use brown or brown and blue, you could do that. So this time we're going to use less of our base with the papers. Although I have to tell you, I really did like that one. Before I put the butterfly on top of it, I really did like that one. I think it'd be fun just to do a whole set of note cards where you didn't have anything but just the collage papers on them. I think that'd be fun. And then just put stamp a big word on it, or cut out a word. I really like to cut words out of magazines a lot and use those. Let's use some of this one. It's always good to look at both sides, because I think on these rice papers I did print them on both sides. I don't remember what the project was that I did them for, but it was some specific project, and there was a reason for printing it on both sides. But right now, right off the top of my head, I could not tell you what that was. I know, it's a surprise that I couldn't remember. As I often tell you, I have slept since then. That is a fact. That is a fact. You do have to keep track of where your glue is, otherwise you're going to get glue on the surface of your little collage paper. And that could make you angry a little bit. Could make you a little angry if you did that. That's a pretty one. That's pretty against the craft. All right, and let's do some of this one. I like this. These are deli papers that I brayered off. Cleaned the brayer off when I was doing some jelly plate printing. So you can stack them up, you can overlap them a little bit or not. It is your thing, and it is your deal. You get to decide what you want to do, right? You get to decide. You're in charge. It's your art. It is your creation. This one is probably going to be outside, but we're just going to stick it on here because it's got glue on it, and it's probably outside the butterfly, but it's got glue. We got to get rid of it. All right, how about let's use some of this one. This is also rice paper in blue and turquoise. Let's take kind of a pretty section here, maybe. It is really hard to see. I'm not doing a very good job keeping up with where the glue is on my glue paper, so I'm having to check with my hand. That's not always super effective when you do that, by the way. It's a little bit on the risky side. I hope you guys are having a great day today. You know what? If you wake up on this side of the dirt, it is a good day. Yeah, it is. It's a good day. Okay, if you got food to put in your mouth and people that you love and that love you, Count your blessings. If you have a job or you have there's just so many things to be thankful for, We just need to be more grateful. I'm not having to sleep on a park bench. I'm not having to worry about how to deal with today or tomorrow. I might have to do it some other time, but I'm not having to do it right now, so I'm grateful. We're just going to stick this one down. Oh no, I didn't have glue on it. Never mind, we won't stick that down because it didn't have any glue. It just had glue on my fingers. Okay, let's, let's use a little bit of this one. I think sometimes it's just really fun when you just do something that doesn't require any thinking, It's just get out some stuff and play with it and see what happens. Okay, so I've covered up my marks. Let's see whether the black... whether our butterfly will cover. There we are. Looks pretty good with the black, don't you think? You like it? Hi, Dana. Yes, Barbara. Amen to that. Practice gratitude. Nobody guaranteed me anything in this life. I thought, here's the thing. All right, come on, switch camera. There we go. You have a plan. Everybody has a plan to some degree, because most of us don't float through life going, oh, la da 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 da. We usually have a plan about what we think our life is going to be like. My plan was pretty simple. It was when I was 19 years old, I got engaged to the man that I thought I was going to grow old with. I was going to marry him. I was going to grow old with him, like forever. We were going to be together forever. Okay, now fast forward a few dozen years, and that clearly doesn't make sense that a person that would be reality. But when you're 19 or, however old you are, that makes perfect sense. I'm just putting tape on this butterfly reveal. Reverse silhouette, how about if we call it that? You just think that life is going to be this certain way, and you're going to grow old together, and you're, blah, blah, blah. Well, what I didn't count on was that he was going to grow old, that he did grow old, and he did grow old with me. It was just a lot sooner than I anticipated, And you just don't think about it sometimes and go, wow, that did not turn out the way I thought it was going to turn out. That doesn't mean that my life is not full and rich and filled with blessings and opportunities and people. I have met some of the most incredible people in the last, 18 months or so. People who helped me take care of him from hospice, and people I've met since then. And it's just incredible when you think about, okay, I could sit around and believe me, I do my share of sitting around and being a whiner. Yeah, I do. Don't think for a moment that I am got it all together, because that is not true. I have done my share of whining and feeling sorry for myself and feeling, very upset about any number of things, because life shouldn't be like this. Life should be like that. Well, no, it shouldn't. You don't get to choose. You don't get to choose what your life is. I mean, to some extent, you have a minimum of control over things going on in your life. But, as a rule, we don't have nearly as much control as we like to think we do. So how do you deal with that? In the good times and the really good, mountaintop times, those are not hard. Those are the great times to enjoy, and it's fun and it's easy and it's, it's not all that way. So how do you deal with the rest of it gracefully? A friend of mine said that to me a long time ago. She says, I just try to deal with life as gracefully as possible. And I'm like, ooh. That really made me think. How do you deal with life as gracefully as possible? I'm like, oh man, that is a good question. So this is what I was doing while I was talking to you. I was putting tape on here. Yeah, your life is valid and so are your choices. Now, every choice comes with consequence. Sometimes more than one consequence, but life comes with consequences. And your choices are valid. Your life is valid. Okay, so we're going to kind of get a beat on where this is going to be placed, and hopefully I don't have anything sticking out around it, so we should be okay. So there's about an eighth of an inch around the outside of this. Another thing you can do with this, which would be good, especially on this, if I had done it ahead of time, would be to ink this cutout first before putting it down, but I probably will ink around the outside of the card just because it gives it kind of a border. Anyway, okay, let's take off the release papers. I find it easiest to take them off using, some people use a craft knife, some people have great fingernails. I just find it easiest to use this pokey tool, and I just take the release papers off. The fold is up at the top. Yeah. But a good point, Barbara, a good point. know where the fold is. Otherwise, you could put the butterfly on upside down, and then you have a new challenge to figure out how you're going to solve the problem. That a lot of life is an adventure in problem solving, and so is art. All right, this one I got the adhesive a little too close to the edge, so I'm going to roll that back a little bit. And just keep taking off. I don't know, I just find this easiest to use the tape, especially when the tape isn't super expensive at all. It works out so well. Okay. I'm not sure what you mean by the replay starts at 8 minutes. So I'm not sure what that's in reference to. You can put them on upside down. I have been there. I have done that. Okay, so there we go. Now we have a whole bunch of sticky tape. Yes, we do. Now you want to position this carefully before you stick it down. So let's see. If my head gets in the way, I apologize. Okay, there we go. Okay, it looks pretty straight. So there is our butterfly with the black, and here's the one with the craft. So you can do this, you know, as long as you have a big open shape and as long as you can die cut it. That's the easiest way to do it. Of course, you could cut it with a craft knife or whatever. One of the ones that I thought is fun to do is to use the silhouette of a hand, do the same thing. Or you could do the, I have one that's a foot that, I don't know where that came from. Just a minute and I'll show it to you. Hold on a second. I'll show it to you. I saved it as a stencil. I think this came from a pair of socks or from a pair of shoes or something. It was some kind of advertisement, but it's a foot, and I saved it to use as a stencil. But I thought that would be cute as a card done the same way. So imagine that's, well, here we'll just use a piece of the paper. So imagine that's the card base, and then you put the foot on it. You know, and if you use it so that the card opens this way, we'll see if it fits. Yeah, see, it would fit on the card. So you could do something fun. And because it's a little more open in some ways rather than the butterfly, you could do that. So just use your imagination and use up your scraps, you know? Yeah, putting your foot down. That's right. No eat. All right. Any questions from anybody? I'm going to stop a little bit early today. Barefooting. I know. Couldn't you come up with some great things to say? If you have any questions, stick them in the chat real quick. I think that we talked about everything that I intended to. Remember to check out the Olive Crest if you're interested in knowing more about that organization. Good organization. Supports kids and families in crisis. I highly recommend them. And what else? There's a link to Olive Crest in the description below, also in the chat earlier. And the podcast, Away with Words. If you like podcasts, you will like that, I think. If you like words, go for it. Okay? Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, everyone, for being here. All the other mods and everybody else who helps me keep this show on the road. And I will see you on, plan to be back on Monday, and I will see you then. So thanks for being here. And go out and do something fun. Creative, kind, be kind, do something good. Have a great rest of your day, weekend, whatever. And I will be back here on Monday at 6 p.m. Central, and I'll see you then. If I don't see you on Monday, I'll see you on Friday, okay? And Friday, it's at 2 Eastern. Monday, it's in the evening at 7 Eastern. I think I may have said that completely backwards a minute ago, but who knows? All right, I will see you then. Have a great day. Have a great time. And thanks for being here. It's good to see you. All right, remember to get creative today because you know it's easy. See you next time. Bye for now.